Hello, I am Professor Kalpesh Patel, Electrical Engineering Department from the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, Navsari. Our subject is Power Electronics of the BE 3rd year 5th sem, and our subject code is 3140915. Our first chapter is Power Switching Devices, and this is the flow of contents of our first chapter, from which we completed all the topics. The remaining last two topics we will conduct in this lecture. The remaining two topics, which is firing circuit of the thyristor and gate driver circuit for the MOSFET and IGBT. Firing circuit, that means the circuit need to turn on the thyristors, and gate driver circuit, it is also used to turn on the MOSFET and IGBT. That's why the firing circuit are used to turn on the switching devices. So in this lecture we will study in details the different types of the firing circuit which are used for the thyristors, and different gate driver circuit are used to turn on the MOSFET and IGBT. MOSFET and IGBT, as the gate characteristics are the same, so the gate driver circuit used for the MOSFET, which is same, will be used for the IGBT. Our first topic is thyristor firing circuits. An SCR can be switched from off state to on state in several ways. That means there are different types of the thyristor firing circuit. First one is the dV/dt triggering. Second one is a temperature triggering. Third one is a light triggering. Fourth one is a gate triggering. Gate triggering is, however, the most common method of turning on the SCR, because this method lends itself accurately for the turning on the SCR at the desired instance of the time. Also, it is the efficient and reliable method. First one is the dV/dt triggering. SCR triggering can also occur without any gate current if the rate of rise of anode to cathode voltage exceeds the certain limits for the particular device. Suppose this is the construction of the SCR. Here 4 layer P, N, P, N. If you connect anode with positive and cathode with negative, if gate is not applied, so in these connections the junction J1 and J3 are in forward bias conditions, whereas the junction J2 is in reverse bias conditions. So no current will be flow from anode to cathode. As explained in dV/dt, if the rate of rise of voltage across anode and cathode suddenly applied, so junction J2 will break down at some excess voltage. So in this firing circuit or firing method, the rate of rise of voltage is suddenly applied across the anode and cathode. So this technique of the turning on the thyristor is known as the dV/dt triggering. So in this triggering, gate is remain open. Second one is the temperature triggering. Temperature triggering of SCR or a thyristor occurs as the voltage across the junction J2 which is in reverse bias condition, and any leakage current may rise the temperature of the junction. The increased temperature further increase the temperature, which will increase the leakage current. This cumulative process may be sufficient to trigger the SCR, although it tends to only occur when the device temperature is high. So in temperature triggering method, only the disadvantage is the very high temperature is required to turn on the SCR. If you connect positive of the supply with anode and negative of the supply with cathode, so this SCR is in forward bias condition, but junction J1 and J3 are only in forward bias condition. Junction J2 is in reverse bias condition. If we not apply any gate signal, no current will be flow from anode to cathode, but some leakage current will be flow from anode to cathode. So here some leakage current will be flow, and as we know, the fully voltage appear across the junction J2. Because of this leakage current, heat is voltage drop across the junction J2. So power loss occur across the junction J2. Because of this power loss, the power loss occur due to the voltage drop across the junction J2 and leakage current. So because of this power loss, temperature will increase at junction J2. As we all know, the semiconductor properties, as the temperature is increased, resistance will decrease. As the resistance is decreased, it will increase the leakage current. So as the leakage current increase, also the voltage power loss across the junction increase, which will further increase the temperature. This temperature also increase the current. So by cumulative process of increasing the leakage current, at some temperature level, junction J2 will break down and fully turn on the thyristor, and now fully current will be flow from anode to cathode. This method is known as the temperature triggering method. Third one is the light triggering. This form of SCR triggering or firing is often used with the high voltage system. Here an electrical connection is not required from the firing mechanism, and an isolated light source can be used. So in this type of firing circuit, there is no need of any electrical extra connection between gate and cathode. So just we have to apply only the light at the junction, reverse junction J2. If we apply the light at this region, it will inject the charge into P region. This will break down the junction J2, and the thyristor finally turn on, and current will flow from anode to cathode. This is known as the light triggering of the SCR. But its switching operation is slow compared to the other techniques of the firing circuit. Last one is a gate triggering. For gate SCR triggering to be the use, that means to turn on the SCR, gate is used. For the SCR must operate below its breakdown voltage. Otherwise what happen, the forward voltage triggering or breakdown triggering may occur. If we increase the voltage at across the anode and cathode at some certain limits, so junction J2 will break down without any gate signal. So to use the gate signal method, we have to keep the voltage across the junction J2 or across the anode and cathode at below the breakdown voltage of junction J2. So in this triggering method, gate triggering method, a positive gate voltage between gate and cathode is applied. Between gate and cathode, positive gate signal is applied, which will break down the junction J2 by injecting the charge at a layer P. This is the general layout of the firing circuit scheme of the SCR. So the firing circuit of the SCR is divided into the three parts. One is a control circuit, second part is a driver circuit, and third one is a power circuit. Now to turn on the SCR, we have to apply the positive gate pulse between gate and cathode. If we apply the positive gate pulse, it will turn on the SCR. Once the SCR will turn on, gate lost the control. That means we can't turn off the SCR by controlling the gate signal. So only the commutation techniques are used to turn off the SCR. So at 0 point, crossing point of the current, SCR will turn off naturally, because at 0 crossing the anode to cathode current reduced below the holding current of the SCR. So at this point the SCR will turn on automatically. For further half cycle, we have to apply another gate pulse between gate and cathode to turn on the negative half cycle. So at every 0 point we have to apply the gate pulse across the gate and cathode. So this is the control circuit in which one is pulse generator, one DC supply is applied to pulse generator to generate the pulses. So pulse is generated at every zero crossing point of the AC supply. So pulse generator sense the every zero point. So this is done by the zero crossing detector. So pulse generator sense every 0 point of the AC signal and generate the pulse at every zero crossing cycle. So this pulse is applied to the pulse amplifier, because sometimes the pulse which is generated by the pulse generator, it is not enough to turn on the SCR. So we have to amplify these pulses. So pulse amplifier amplify the pulse which is generated by the pulse generator. So this output of the amplifier given to the pulse transformer. The pulse transformer has the two functions. First one is the isolate the power circuit and control circuit, because pulse transformer not electrically connected, the primary and secondary, both the primary and secondary connected magnetically. So it's provide isolation between the power circuit and the control circuit, and it's convert the square wave pulse into the spike. So it reduce the on time of the pulse, which will reduce the gate loss of the SCR. So pulse transformer used for the two purpose. One is the provide isolation between power circuit and control circuit, and the other one is convert the square wave into the spike wave to reduce the gate loss. Resistance firing circuits. Resistance triggering circuits are the simplest and most economical, but however they suffer from a limited range of firing angles between 0 degree and 90 degree. The figure shows the most basic resistance triggering circuit is here. The basic configuration of the resistance triggering circuit is shown in figure. Thyristor connected in series with the load and the supply voltage Vs equal to Vm sin omega t, which is the sinusoidal voltage source. So in the resistance triggering circuit, all the gate circuit is consist from the resistance R1, R2 and R. Here diode D is connected, so only these circuits flow only during the positive half cycle of the supply, and during the negative half cycle diode is in reverse bias conditions. Also thyristor is in reverse bias conditions, so no current will be flow from negative directions. As we all know, the thyristor will turn on only when the voltage across gate and cathode exceed the its gate threshold voltage, that means VGT. So the voltage drop across the R, which is used to turn on the thyristor. When voltage across the R exceeds the VGT or greater than the VGT, which is the required voltage to turn on the thyristor, then and then only the thyristor will turn on, otherwise remain in off conditions. Here the resistance R1, R2 and R used as the voltage divider circuits. So fully voltage of sinusoidal voltage is divided into the three parts: voltage across the R1, voltage across the R2 and voltage across the R. Voltage across R is used to turn on the thyristor. By varying the voltage by varying the value of resistance R2, we can change the voltage drop across the R. If we consider R2 is set at minimum value, so the voltage across the R will be the maximum. If we set the value of resistance R2 at its maximum value, so the voltage drop across the R is the minimum. If you consider the minimum value, that means the R2 is set equal to 0. So R2 is equal to 0. So fully voltage is divided only in the two resistance R1 and resistance R. Voltage across the R2 is 0 because of its 0 resistance. So value of R1 and R selected such that by putting the value of R2 equal to 0, the voltage drop across the R should not exceed the maximum gate threshold voltage of the thyristor, because at some higher voltage the gate of the thyristor may be damaged. Because of the harsh light, current will be flow from gate to cathode. So we have to select it such that value of R1 and R such that when the R2 equal to 0, the voltage across R should not exceed the maximum voltage handling capacity of the thyristor. Suppose we consider first the value of R2 is set its maximum value. So the minimum voltage drop will be occur across the resistance R2. So the voltage across the gate, which is the voltage across the resistance R. So voltage across the resistance R is in these conditions for positive half cycle, but in negative half cycle, because of the diode, no current will be flow from in this direction. So only positive half cycle we get across the resistance R or across the gate voltage. But we set the value of R2 at highest value, so minimal voltage drop across the R will be occur. So this is the minimum voltage drop across the R, which is not higher than the VGT. That means in this condition thyristor will not turn on, because the required voltage to turn on the thyristor, which is VGT, but voltage develop across the resistance R, which is VGP, which is less than the VGT. So no thyristor will not turn on. So there is no load current and there is no load voltage. So fully voltage appear across the thyristor, because thyristor is in turn off condition. So fully voltage appear across the thyristor. Now we decrease the value of R2. So the voltage drop across the resistance R will increase. If we set the resistance value R2, so the alpha become the 90 degree, which is given by the equation this. If we see R1 and R is the fixed value, by varying the value of R2 we can change the firing angle alpha. So R2 is selected such that the alpha become 90 degree. So the thyristor will turn on at the 90 degree, which is seen in figure. So at 90 degree, the voltage across the gate or a voltage across the resistance R reach at the VGT, which is the enough voltage required to turn on the thyristor. That means at this point thyristor will turn on. So alpha equal to 90 degree, thyristor will turn on and current start to flowing from 90 degree. So at this in this region thyristor is turn off condition, but at this point voltage across the gate is reached at the VGT. So after this point thyristor will conduct. So we get after 90 degree to the pi 180 degree thyristor will conduct. At this point the current through the anode to the cathode which is below the holding current of the thyristor. So at this point the current becomes 0. So thyristor will naturally commutated. So in negative half cycle diode is in reverse bias condition, also thyristor is in reverse bias condition. So no current will be flow from this leg, also from this leg. So by this circuit only we control the positive half cycle of the supply voltage. In negative half cycle both the device will remain turned off, so no current will be flow from negative half cycle. So fully negative half cycle will be appear across the thyristor. Only we get this positive half cycle across the load. So this is the load. So only positive half cycle we get across the load. During negative half cycle, diode and thyristor both are in reverse bias condition, so no current will be flow from in this direction. So only we get only positive half cycle with controlled angle alpha, which is alpha is controlled by the value of resistance R2. If we further decrease the value of resistance R2, the voltage drop across the R rapidly increase and reach at lesser time compared to the value of R2 higher. So at lesser time we get the voltage across the gate and cathode, which is VGT, which is rapidly build up compared to the value of resistance R2, higher value of resistance R2. So value of resistance R2 is reduced after the 90 degrees, so alpha become less than 90 degree. So the thyristor will turn on before the 90 degree. So this is 90 degree. If we set the value of resistance R2 such that the voltage across the gate reach at this point, which is less than the 90 degree. So at this point the thyristor will turn on. So this is the off period, but at this point the voltage across the gate is reach at the VGT. So at this point thyristor will turn on and conduct the current. So we get this portion of the positive half cycle across the load. So at this point current will start conducting. At this point the current becomes zero. This is also the positive half cycle control. So then in negative half cycle both the diode and the thyristor are in reverse bias conditions. So the fully negative voltage appear across the thyristors, and across the load we get the zero voltage. So when the thyristor is on, the voltage appear across the load, but the thyristor is off, the fully voltage appear across the thyristor. So when load is on, there is no voltage across thyristor, so there is no load voltage, this portion. So this portion appear across the thyristor. When thyristor is on condition, there is no voltage across the thyristor, so the voltage appear across the load. When the thyristor is off condition, we no current will be flow, so we not get any kind of voltage across the load. So at this time the voltage appear across the thyristor. So if we add voltage across the load and voltage across the thyristor, we get the complete cycle. So by increasing the value of R2, we decrease the firing angle alpha, and by decreasing the value of R2, we increase the firing angle alpha. The only the disadvantage of resistor firing circuit is we can control the alpha between only 0 to 90 degree. So if R2 is minimum, we get the 0 degree alpha, but we set the value of R2 at maximum value, so we get the 90 degree. So this circuit able to control only the firing alpha between 0 and 90 degree. Now the resistance firing circuit is completed. Now we study the RC firing circuit. RC, that means resistance capacitance firing circuit. The limited range of the firing angle controlled by the resistance is overcome by the RC firing circuits. So by RC firing circuit, we can control the firing angle from 0 to 180 degree, which is lesser in the RC firing circuit. It is only the 0 degree and to the 90 degree. So in this firing circuit, thyristor anode is connected with the load and load to the supply, and cathode is connected to the negative of the supply. Here RC resistance R and C are connected in series. So by changing the value of resistance R, we can change the voltage drop across the capacitance. Here the voltage drop across the capacitance is used to turn on the thyristor. When the voltage across the capacitance VC reach at the voltage VGT, which is enough voltage to turn on the thyristor, then thyristor will turn on. So by changing the value of R, if we increase the value of resistance R, the voltage drop across the capacitance will decrease. If we decrease the value of resistance R, the voltage drop across the capacitance will increase. So by changing the value of R, we can change the firing angle alpha of the thyristors. It is also the halfway control circuit, because in negative cycles the thyristor is also in reverse bias conditions and voltage drop across the capacitance is positive and negative. So in this condition, diode D1 is the reverse bias condition, so no gate current will be flow. During positive half cycle, this become plus, so current will flow in this direction. So voltage drop across the capacitor with upper plate positive. So in these situations, diode D1 is in forward bias condition. So this current will be flow from capacitor to diode to thyristor. So in positive half cycles, gate will conduct the current. Also the thyristor is in forward bias condition. So anode to cathode current will be flow from anode to cathode current will be flow when the voltage across the gate reach at the VGT. Now we consider the value of resistance R, which is set at the high value. That means the more time required to build up the voltage across the capacitance. So this is the voltage line, which is the VGT, voltage required to turn on the thyristor. When voltage across the gate reach at this point, thyristor will turn on, and this voltage across the thyristor which is built up across the capacitance. So during the negative half cycles, the capacitance start to build up voltage. So at this point, at voltage 0, capacitor voltage is negative. But when positive half cycle is come in picture, so voltage drop across the capacitance become positive. So increasing in this manner. So at this point, voltage across the capacitance reach at the VGT. So at this point, thyristor will turn on. So now current will flow from anode to cathode, and we get the voltage across the load. But at this point, anode to cathode current will reduce below the holding current. So at this point, thyristor will naturally commutated. So at this point, thyristor will turn off, and we can't get negative cycles across the load. So at negative half cycle, voltage across the load becomes 0 and fully negative voltage appear across the thyristor. Also in positive half cycle, when the thyristor is turned off condition, the remaining voltage will appear across the thyristor. When thyristor is turned on condition, then and then only the voltage appear across the load. So if we add these two voltages, voltage across load and voltage across thyristor, we get the complete cycle, positive as well as negative. So when the voltage not appear across the load, the remaining voltage will appear across the thyristor. Now we decrease the value of resistance R. So now more rapidly voltage will build up across the capacitance. So if we decrease the value of R, voltage build up across the capacitance is rapidly and in smaller time reach at the VGT. So when the voltage across the capacitance reach at VGT, thyristor will turn on and the voltage will appear across the load. So compared to the high value of resistance R, here we get the larger voltage across the load. In these conditions, here only we get this portion of the cycle across the load, but in this condition we get this much amount of the voltage across the load. So by decreasing the value of resistance R, we get the higher value of alpha and we get lower value of voltage across the load. If we decrease the value of R, the value of alpha will decrease and we get the higher value of the load voltage. So the remaining voltage of the negative half cycle will appear across the thyristor. So this is also the positive half cycle control from 0 to 180 degree. The negative half cycle will remain unchanged and we can't control the negative half cycle because negative half cycle is a reverse bias condition thyristor. This is the RC half wave triggering circuit, and now we will study the RC full wave triggering circuit. Full wave, that means we can control both the cycle of the supply, positive as well as the negative. So to control the both of the cycle, positive as well as negative, we have to connect the supply with a bridge connection of the diode. So this is the bridge connection of the diode. So in bridge connection, 4 diodes are required: D1, D2, D3 and D4. During positive half cycle, this upper of the voltage terminal is positive. So this is, in these situations, diode D1 is in forward bias conditions. So now current will flow from diode to load to thyristor to diode D2 and D2 to the negative. But in negative half cycles, this lower point become positive. So in this situation, diode D3 will become a forward bias conditions. Now the current will flow from D3 to load to the thyristor and thyristor to the D4 and D4 to the negative of the supply. So at this circuit, we always get positive at this terminal and negative at this terminal in both the cycle of the supply, positive as well as the negative. If the negative supply, which is rectified by the bridge circuit, and here we always get the positive cycles. So in both cycle, thyristor will remain in forward bias conditions. This is the waveform for high value of R and this is the waveform for low value of R. This is our supply voltage sinusoidal. If we set the value of resistance R at high value, so voltage build up across the capacitance, it require more time. So the firing angle alpha become large. If the firing angle alpha become large, we get the lower portion of the voltage across the load. So the voltage across the capacitance reach at this point. So this period is known as the alpha. So at this point, thyristor will turn on. We get the voltage across the load. But at this point, anode current reduce below the holding current of the thyristor. So at this point, the thyristor will naturally commutated. During negative half cycle, this negative half cycle is rectified by the bridge connection of the diode. So we get here positive half cycle. So we get positive half cycle even though the supply voltage is negative. So in this situation also voltage build up across the capacitance which is positive and reach at alpha point. So in negative half cycle also we get the voltage across the load. If we decrease the value of resistance R, time required to build up the voltage across the capacitance will decrease. So the compared to the high value of R, the voltage across the capacitance in low value of R build up rapidly. So we get at this point we get the BGET. So this is time period is known as the alpha, which is less compared to high value of R. So we get the more voltage across the load during positive half cycle as well as during the negative half cycle, and remaining voltage will appear across the thyristor during the thyristor is turned off. So in RC full wave circuit we can control both the positive cycle as well as the negative cycles by means of the rectifying circuit. Pulse transformer are used quite often in firing circuit for SCR as well as the GTU. Pulse transformer is the high frequency transformer in kilohertz range, and the turn ratio of the primary to secondary is 2:1:1. These transformers are designed to have a low winding resistance, low leakage reactance, low interturn winding capacitance. There are mainly two functions of the pulse transformer. First one is the isolation of the low voltage gate circuit from the high voltage anode circuits, and triggering of a two or more device from the same triggering source. That means only by the one triggering source we can turn on more than one thyristors. So the main function of the pulse transformer is to isolate the low power circuit and high power circuit, and also trigger more than one device. This is the basic circuit of the pulse transformer firing circuits. So this is pulse transformer. Pulse transformer has one primary and other is a secondary. In secondary there are many windings. If we want to turn on the two thyristor, then there will be two winding. If we want to turn on three thyristor, then there will be three winding. So only by one gate circuit we can turn on more than one thyristors by the pulse transformer at the same time. So in pulse transformer, if this is the positive, so this is the also positive and this is also positive. Dot indicate when the primary is positive. So in secondary, this terminal is positive and this terminal is positive. So in this terminal is positive, thyristor T1 will turn on, and at this thyristor T2 will turn on. And this is the equivalent circuit of the pulse transformer firing circuits. If you consider the ratio N1:N2, N1 is the primary turn, N2 is the secondary turn. Rg is assumed as the gate resistance of the thyristor. So in these conditions, Rg act as a load, and this L is the leakage inductance of the pulse transformer, and this RL, which is used to limit the primary current of the primary winding of the pulse transformer. So if we transfer this load Rg from secondary to the primary, so it become this R1 equal to N1/N2 square Rg. So now the equivalent circuit is become this RO, and L is as it is, but this the combination of RL and R1 become R0. If we apply the positive pulse, this is the transistor. So if we apply the positive pulse, the transistor will turn on. So then transistor will turn on, the primary winding current will flow from these conditions. Primary to transistor to negative of the supply. In these situations, this point become positive. So this is become also positive and this is become also positive. So it will turn on the thyristor T1 and thyristor T2. When this positive pulse is removed from the transistor, so transistor will turn off. So no current will be flow from primary to the transistor is turn off conditions. But in these situations, the lower plate become positive. So the stored energy in the primary winding of the pulse transformer, which is dissipated through the freewheeling diode. So this pulse transformer will reset. So we can turn on the thyristor by applying positive gate cycle to the transistor and turn off by removing the gate pulse from the transistor. So this is the pulse triggering circuit for the thyristor, and these three circuit is the equivalent circuit of the pulse triggering circuits. Here we understand how the pulse transformer provide the isolation between the power circuit and control circuit. In power circuit, thyristor is connected, and in control circuit, gate circuit is connected. So there is no physical connection between the secondary of the pulse transformer and primary of the pulse transformer. It is only magnetically connected, not electrically. So it provides isolation between this power circuit and control circuit. So no power will be flow from high power circuit to the low power circuit, which will protect the gate circuit, which is very sensitive to the high voltage. So the pulse transformer provides between the isolation between the primary and secondary, or low voltage or high voltage circuit. And by connecting this manner, we can turn on more than one thyristor at a time. Now the gate driver circuit for the MOSFET and the IGBT. In MOSFET and IGBT, the gate is common because the IGBT is the combination of the MOSFET and transistor, but the gate circuit of the IGBT remains same as the MOSFET because the MOSFET has the lower switching loss. So here the one MOSFET, this is the drain, this is source, and this is the gate terminal. If we apply the positive gate with respect to source, the MOSFET will turn on and conduct the current from drain to source. If we connect the gate to the source or by applying negative cycles to the gate with respect to source, MOSFET will turn off. So and no current will be flow from drain to source. So to turn on the MOSFET, we have to apply positive gate cycle, and to turn off the MOSFET, we have to connect gate either ground to discharge the capacitance between the gate and source, or either we have to apply the negative gate pulse to the MOSFET. So we can turn off the MOSFET. First we understand why we have to connect the gate of the MOSFET to ground, or either we have to apply negative cycle to turn off the thyristor or a MOSFET. Because when we apply positive gate pulse, there is one capacitance between gate and source which store the energy. So to turn on the MOSFET, we have to discharge this energy. So this energy will be discharged by connecting gate to the ground or by applying the negative gate pulse to the gate with respect to source. So this is the gate driver circuit of the MOSFET. Across the gate and source, we connected the Zener diode. Zener diode protect the gate circuit from the high voltage because the Zener diode provide the constant voltage. So whenever the voltage across the gate reach at the exceed the limit, the voltage across the Zener diode remain constant. So the Zener diode is connected across the gate, so the voltage across the gate remain constant. So this Zener diode provide protection to the gate circuit. So here two transistors are connected. This is transistor T1 and this is the transistor T2. To turn on the MOSFET, we applied positive gate pulse. If we applied positive gate pulse, this is the NOT circuit. So this is the logic 1. Here we get logic 0. If logic is 0, this is in off conditions. This is also not get. So here we get the logic 1, which will turn on the transistor 1. So now current will flow from this extra battery source to the transistor to the output to the gate. So here we get the positive gate pulse. So in these conditions, MOSFET will turn on and conduct the current flow from drain to source. If we apply the zero logic, so here we get the logic 1 and here we get logic 0. So in these situations, this transistor is in off condition, so no current will be flow from this transistor. But here we get the logic 1, which will turn on this thyristor T2. So this positive of the gate is short circuited through the transistor T2. So the energy stored in capacitor is discharged through this transistor, and MOSFET will turn off and no current will be flow from drain to source. So to turn on the MOSFET we have to apply positive gate pulse, and to turn off the MOSFET we have to connect and by removing the gate pulse and connect the gate to the source. Otherwise we have to apply the negative gate pulse to discharge the gate energy. So this is firing circuit is also applicable for the IGBT. GTU question. First one, explain the resistance firing circuit for thyristor and explain the RC firing circuit for the thyristor. In RC firing circuit, you have to explain both half wave firing circuit as well as the full wave firing circuit. So here we completed our first chapter, and the remaining last two topics are conducted in this lecture. So here we completed our first chapter. In next lecture we will continue from the second chapter. Thank you.